Yeah, mashallah. So far nine have responded. Yeah. See, within less than a minute, I guess. So instead, see, now the fruit is you are gonna really save your time, because if I'm gonna hear from this and this and this and this and this, it's gonna be difficult, right? So by doing so at least I give the opportunity for all of my students to utilize 1 minute brainstorming about that one, or at least just to revise what they have read in at home or something like this. Or it's not limited to something written. You may ask them about something really to be thought about and to get their feedback. You have a question? Okay. So I think such kind of challenges you may face them in the beginning of the classrooms, but once they are familiar with, for sure they will be ready for that. It's okay. But see, yeah, such kind of things also they can share, they can do something in there. Okay, even there is another point. Sharing and bearing, it will enhance even their attention. How? By having some tactile movement. Okay, sometimes I use really to remember in my elementary school in there, elementary or secondary school in there, really one of my instructor at that time, if he feel that we get lost in there, he used really to ask us stand up. You got my point? Yeah, why not? But also you have to understand the culture of your students, if they can accept it or not. You get my point? But it's okay, huh? Yeah, it's okay. I think Dr. Al-Arfaj did something more in his session there. So mashallah, see here. So here we have 24. So now I have all of your feedback. By the way, how can I get your feedback? I can see them in here. All of them are here. So these are the challenges, okay? Or I can create a separate sheet, and then all of them will be there. See? All of them are there. So by doing so, I can revise them if there is no time really during the class. I can look at them at home, right? That's fine. So you may say Dr. Ali is trying really to make us very busy even outside the classroom, right? So we'll keep this one. And now we'll talk about the main challenges. Or before that, there are some tips for how to encourage your students to participate. Participation, just in summary, participation is the willingness of all of your students to take this risk or to ask when needed. Okay? So they have to have a safe environment. They have to be convinced about the fruit that they can gain from such kind of interaction, and also even their attributes when they are the graduate attributes also will be improved, and by doing so their opportunity to get a job later on can be improved as well. So if you can convince them in this way as well. But also, these are the main challenges reported in the literature. Main challenges. One of the instructor might say, as Professor Muhammad also said, that one of the main challenges is if I'm going to go with the active learning, maybe I'm not be able to cover all the course content in there, right? So, okay, this is one of the challenges, but here there are some tips. If we are gonna focus on building a framework of correct understanding for our students, their performance and their learning will be enhanced. And in this case, the reading assignment will work. If your students, the way that your students of thinking is working properly, so then and only then you can assign some reading assignment for them. For example, chapter X, okay, please try to read it, and next lecture we'll have a discussion on that one. But also, if you are gonna ask them for reading assignment, please don't forget to include that one in the exam to be taken seriously. Otherwise, so they will ignore it in there. By doing so, instead of spending 2 lectures for 1 chapter, so maybe one lecture is enough for that one. So, and then by doing so, you are gonna save your time. And also here, you know that in so many cases, we use, based on our experience, we used to repeat information many times. The same information many times. But once we go to the exam, we'll find some students did poorly in that question, isn't it? Don't you have such kind of experience? I think you have, صح? Isn't it? So, although we used really to repeat that information many times, but the feedback of our some of our students might not be positive. So why? Because when we deliver that lecture, when we dispense that knowledge, our students or those guys, those students are not ready to get it. Why? Because they do have some problems with their mental models. I'm not talking that they do have difficulties or mental problems or something like that. No, it's not mental in their mentality. No. I'm talking about the way that they are thinking. Or they may have an old information which is wrong. Or there is no connection between this information that you are sharing with them with the old information. So if we solve all of these ones, so your students will be able really to be engaged more effectively. Let me give you one example. You know that if you, let us say, convey a message, some students might get it like this, but some of them needs more explanation and more explanation to get it, isn't it? Why? It's because of their mental model that they do have. The one that he get it like this, so his knowledge and also his skills needed for that information, as well as the way that he's thinking, is ready to get that one. But the others may have one of the challenges related to these 3 steps. And also here, a student also can get the take-home message of some of the course content through some activities. It's not mandatory really to say everything for our students really to get it. I have to see this for my student to get it. No. They can get it from discussions, they can get it from any activities, they can get it outside the classroom, they can get it through lab experiment, through field trip, through project discussion in there, they can get it through so many things in there, right? And also, I can add also one example in here. A math teacher reported that in one of the literature that teaching in a cooperative way allow me to cover more material, or at least your student understanding will be more deep, isn't it, with such kind of things. So we still have, I think, 3 minutes, right? So 3 minutes. The second one is old material. As I said, you should not, there is no need really to discard your old materials. However, you have to think about how to use them. And also here, please try to go with the gradual transformation. There is no need really to go from 100% passive to 100% active. No, today, okay, suppose that I do have passive, purely passive lecturing in there. So in the first day, I'm going to ask a single question. Single question is enough. Try really to have some sort of of dynamic environment in there with one question. And then in the second day, I'm going to ask 2 questions. In the third day, I'm going to add 1 activity in there. So try to get gradual, because if you are going to jump from 100% passive to 100% active, for sure you will feel frustrated from the day 1, unfortunately. And also here, try to ask, don't tell. This is very, very important. So suppose that you do have this figure, and instead of saying that, okay, this visual says this and this and this, ask your students to tell you what does this visual say. Yeah, ask, don't tell. Okay, this is clear. And also you may say that one of the main challenges is the resistance of my students. My students will not be able really to accept such kind of transformation. No, they will accept it, but this is normal resistance, because even all of us, we do have natural resistance to change. We do have natural resistance to change if there is no delicious fruit beyond that. So once our students knows that there are so many benefits of doing so, they could tell you about or how delicious your fruit is. Believe me, they will come to you to take some fruit in there. So this is very, very important. And also, if this is very important, the law of expectation of your students, because if your student knows that your final exam is multiple choices, do you think that they will be actively engaged on all of these activities? Why shall I bother myself with all of these activities and something like this? So it's multiple choices. So I can get all the slides and then select, and then I'll pass the course, right? If your student, let's say, will ask you about, okay, final exam, whether it's going to be multiple choices or an essay, you will say it's in multiple choices. Their preparation for the exam and their learning will be, they are going to touch only the surface. There is no deep learning, right? But if you are going to say, no, it's design something, it's calculating of something, it's an essay or something like this, for sure they will go deep really to get more in there, right? And also here, these are some of the suggestions. You have to have safe environment where our students can ask any question when they need it. And also, please try to use their names if possible. If you know their names, ask them using their names. And this will add so many benefits. The first one is, it will demonstrate respect first. The second one also, it will demonstrate your care that you know his name. You know, the third one is going to be, he is going to be ready for any question because he knows that you know his name. So he's going to pay some attention to that one. So we talked about the main challenges. We covered 3 of them. And the 4th one is the course evaluation. Some faculty may say that if I'm going to change from the passive lecturing to active lecturing, so I don't know what will happen to the evaluation, course evaluation by students. It's not going to be affected. Why? Because if we are going to consider the learning responsibility as student responsibility, and also if we are going to take care on the student learning, for sure the course evaluation is a reflection of their performance. So it's self-assessment of the students rather than the instructor himself. It should be like this. And also here, if the course evaluation has been designed in a way that is consistent with the course content, for sure, with engaging your students in the activities and in the learning process, it will have a positive effect, isn't it? It will have positive effect. And also, some faculty, some respected colleagues might say, yeah, it's too hard, it's too tough, so I have to do so many things before every lecture and something like that. No, it's one-time task. once you have done, so means you can reuse it again and again and again. And also here, there are some fruits behind that. If you'd like really to know more about how to minimize the effort needed for the active learning, you can refer to some published papers or articles, or you can also check this website. It's a good website, by the way, through which you can get some tips on how to actively engage your students, to minimize the time needed really to prepare yourself for the change from the traditional to the active classrooms. Some faculty may say, yeah, I'll be criticized by my colleagues, saying that you are not that effective because you are not covering the whole content of the material. Or especially with senior lecturers, they may say, I don't believe in the active learning. Why? Because my students used to get high score. Does learning means achievement of the high score? It's not. High score is an indication only, but learning something else. Please, how to overcome such kind of challenge? Please try to involve them in your experiment. It's an experiment. Running or managing a classroom is an experiment. Try to involve all of them in your experiment. Try to ask them for suggestions. Try to ask them for setting some priorities for the course content. Try to invite them to attend your classroom just to feel with the differences in their classrooms and your classrooms. And also some faculty may say, okay, I cannot go with the active classrooms because it needs some equipment. Is it correct? To some extent, yes, but it's not common for all the activities. And so far we have some activities, right? So do you think that all activities need sophisticated equipment or facilities? No. If you are going to ask your student just to make a group, is there a need really for facilities? If you ask your student just to answer that question in writing the answer of that question, is there a need really to have some facilities? But yeah, if you'd like really to have some other activities, for sure you may need some facilities in there. So one of them, as I told you, to collect the feedback. Some of the good universities used to use the clickers like the Vanderbilt University in Tennessee, in the USA. Also, we do have other universities using clickers to get feedback for our students. So shall we stop because we don't have clickers? No, we can use the Google task cards instead. Just waiting for the KFU to get the clickers, and then we can move to using that one. So it means we can do so many things. So here also, some of my faculty might say, yeah, it's easy if we do have limited number of students in my classroom, but if I do have very large classrooms, it's going to be tedious. Yeah, I do appreciate that. But also, if you could divide them in, let us say, in groups, some groups, and try to use the personal response system, which is the Google task cards. You can get their feedback very easily. Instead of receiving the feedback from every individual in there, you can collect the feedback per group. For example, I do have 100 students in there, so 5 per each, so I have 20 groups. So you can number them, group number 1, 2, 3, something like that. And then you can get the feedback, right? And then if you have time, so you can go through it, and not in the classroom for sure. During the class timing, it's going to be wasting time. You don't have that time. But also once you get back home or get time really to check all the feedbacks in there, if you find this group has a problem, something like this, so next time you can give them help in there, right? So I think these are the main challenges that we are facing. I already received all of your feedback before delivering, let us say, this mini lecture, right? Do you have something else? I mentioned to covering the whole material. I mentioned to the student resistance, the course evaluation, and also needed of some equipments, and also the colleague. Do we have something else? Do you have something else? So what shall I do as an instructor? I should refer to your feedback in the Google task cards. But just to save time, I'm going to ask you, do you have something else? Otherwise, if I know that my students, they are not going to ask, what I'm going to do, I have to go back to check whether all of them are covered or not. If there is something missing in there, so means I have to elaborate on that. Clear? Now the point is this, which is the key of our meeting today. How can we transform from the passive to active? Okay? It's very simple. It's to have, as you know, that since our students will lose their attention immediately after 10 to 15 minutes, it's highly recommended really to have many lectures. This is from Harvard University. Okay? To have some mini lectures. Here, prepare yourself first, and then try to have many lecture for 12 minutes. This is for 50 minutes lecture. So 12 minutes followed by 4 minutes, let us say an activity, and then 12 minutes, and then 4 minutes, and then 12 minutes, and then you can end up with the summary or whatever. So this is 50 minutes. You got me? Means, as Dr. Muhammad said in there, so you will have here, let us say, if this is passive, active, something like this. But I don't like really to call it passive, active. You know why? You know why? Because this is not pure passive. While delivering my lecture, if I find that, yeah, that guy missed one of the information, so I have to repeat and do something. Or I may ask a question, just to be sure that everything is okay. But it shouldn't take too much time. You got my point? Now, regarding the feedback, I think we have to consider the feedback of our students, just not to disrespect them or disrespect their feedback. It's very, very important. Okay. So now, what kind of activities that we can use to fill the gaps between the mini lectures? Here are some of the activities reported in the literature. One of them is the one that we are familiar with. Think, pair, and share. Think, write, pair, and share. Think, write, pair, write, and share. And also, we can have another activity using the personal response system with the clickers. If you have multiple choices or true and false, so all of your students, they do have their clickers, and then they can just, with one press tick, so you can get their feedback, right? But since, as I told you, since we don't have it, so we can use the Google task cards. But also here, for the last time, sorry for disturbance again and again, if you find any of these useful features in Blackboard, go to use Blackboard, because it's more professional really to be used. You remember, I know that you are innovative and creative. In our high school, in some private schools, we used to use these cards, by the way. These are very simple cards. You can just divide it in, let us say, 4 squares in there. So this is A, B, C, D, so you can color it, but on both sides. And then you can ask your students. Every student should have this one, let us say. Okay? And then you ask the question. If the answer is A, so you have, as a student, you have to cover the A. And then raise your hand like this. So your instructor from there, he can figure out that your answer was A. You got my point? It's a matter of collective feedback, right? So means here, don't give up. If we feel that there are so many challenges, if we have the desire, I think we can do a lot of things. Also here, you can have also some tests. Within the break, you can have conceptual question there. And the question should be answered by either individual or by pairs. From my side, I would recommend really to go with pairs instead of having that. You know that some of the authors recommended within the breaks, it's recommended not to have an interaction between the student and the instructor himself. So this activity, it's better, it's recommended really to be between peers. But does not mean that we are not going to interfere. No, it depends on the activity, right? And also here, the classroom assessment techniques. It's not a quiz. It's not a test or something like that. It should be ungraded test. If you can make it anonymous, it's going to be much, much better. And I think we talked about this one, how to increase the confidence level of your students by doing so, right? And this could be one of the privileges through using the Google task cards. Now, what else? What are the strategies also that we can use to attract the attention of our students? This is a list of some activities that can be used to attract the attention of our students. Start with few questions in the beginning of your classroom. This is warming up questions. Some of the faculty in one of the USA universities used to use the clickers, but by asking 2 questions in the beginning. Believe me, by doing so, you are going to enhance even the attendance of your students. You are not going to complain anymore of attending late from your students, because they will find something useful in there. But please, ungraded one, because by doing so, you are going to remove such kind of stress. Because you know, every one of us do not like really to have a test, right? We don't like tests. Nobody like this. So if you'd like really for your students to be engaged in that one, so if you can minimize number of tests with grades, please do so. So, and also, so these are some of them. Also, you can ask a question just for specific purpose. You can have demonstration. Demonstration is very effective, but as reported in the literature, please be careful. If you are going to use a demonstration, as mentioned in there, the student performance will enhanced by up to only 15%. 10 to 15%. 10 to 12, 10 to 15% in there. But if you are going to ask your student before having the demonstration to ask them to predict what will happen in there, their performance will increase by up to 25%. So please try to ask your student to predict before having the video, and also or any show in there. The third one is, if you are going to allow your student to predict first and then ask them to share, to bear in there, and then allow them really to see the demonstration that you do have, their performance has been reported there that it was enhanced by up to 50%. So means here before demonstration we have 2 more steps. Please try to ask your student to predict first, try to ask your student after that to bear, and then allow them really to enjoy their life with the episode that you do have in there. You know why? Because if you are gonna just give your student the demonstration without any discussion in there, they may misunderstand some of the concepts. If we are instructors in here, if we do have an episode and we are sitting together in there, do you think that the take-home message will be received exactly the same by all of us? Are we going to get the same message? No. This is normal. This is normal. Interpretation of the information by listening to a statement is not mandatory to be the same. And this is one of the things that you have to ask your student, that it's normal if your colleague does get it and you do not get it, so this is normal. So you can ask something, and because we do respect that. Even ourselves as instructors, we may interpret something different, right? And also we are learning from each other. Also here we do have some other things. Having fun. Having fun doesn't mean that just to waste your time in the air with having some fun. No. But you can have, let us say, the joke of the day. Why not? I'm sure that one of your good instructors used really to share his experience in something, and you enjoyed it at that time, isn't it? You did. I do have some experience with that. What about if you feel that, okay, they missed something, okay, the joke of the day. Give them a joke, whether let us say 30 seconds. Are you gonna be wasting your time by doing that? No, you are gonna utilize the remaining time, by the way, by doing so, because they are gonna get refreshed, and then you can start dispensing additional information. Also here, this is one of the very important one. If you have a test and then you grade it, as I told you from the beginning, the less proficient one will crumble it and then throw it in there. If you give them the chance to resubmit it again with the implementation of your feedback in there, for sure they will identify, they will recognize their mistakes, and then they can do it well. But also in here, add, let us say, one more point or 2 points. Yani it depends on the exam that you do have in there. By doing so, you will lower the stress of the test itself. Means the student will come, okay, my instructor may give me a chance, but also may give me a chance for 1 point, 2 points. Not so many points in there. It should not replace the previous one. Also here we do have so many techniques or strategies for teamwork in here. Role play, which is how to mimic the realistic situation. I'm an engineer, so I can, let us say, act as an engineer. Although I'm still a student, but I'm gonna act as an engineer. What are you gonna do if something happened, this and this and this? So by doing so, you are gonna build the connection between the course content and the real life. There is no barrier between the classrooms and the real world outside. And this is also one of the things in there. I think our friends in the clinical pharmacy and medicine, and I think in so many colleges, I think we can do this, right? And also we do have so many things. The debate, for example. Debate is one of the very important activity. And it has so many advantages and take-home messages. You know what will happen? If we train our student to be engaged in some kind of debate, they will learn so many things. Like what? The first one, they should respect other opinion. This is also, it has a value. The second one is, their guys, they will try to seek for evidences to convince their colleagues in there. So means the correctness is not based on age or your level or something like that. It's based on evidence. If you have some evidences, so you are correct. If not, that's fine. And also, it will enhance the critical thinking of your students, because they are gonna think deeply how to convince that guy. And also they are gonna respect and also rethink again about what his colleague is saying. Okay? So this is very, very important one. This is also how to make some research groups and something like that. The peer assessment also, I can call it as the honest assessment. Honest assessment. But for this one, it's a tool for your students to evaluate the work of their peer in there. Sorry? Sure, yeah. They can learn from each other, and also, but also, please, try to set guidelines in there, because they may go somewhere else. For example, this is the project. I'm gonna deliver this space of the project, and my colleague will evaluate my presentation. So the evaluation should be for the presentation, it's not for myself. So please, this is how to save, how to keep or maintain your environment safe. This is the first point, please. The second one is you have to set guidelines for your students to know how to evaluate. The third one is it should be for that specific point. The third one is also try to train your students to acknowledge the work done by their students. Yeah, I highly appreciate your work, excellent job, something like that. Such kind of messages will make your environment as safe, more safe, and also with good relationship between the students themselves. And the third point, which is the fruit of such kind of assessment, they should know, instead of saying, yeah, you did that wrong and that wrong and that wrong. No, 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 no. Try to avoid that one, but this, all the colleagues should say, yeah, if for more improvement, I would suggest if you do this, you can improve it. If you can do this, you can improve it. If you can do this, if you can, such kind of respect in there. So it's not good really for your student to say that one was wrong and that one was wrong and something like that. Okay? طيب. And also here we do have also some other strategies. I call them multi-purpose. Multi-purpose means it can be used for so many things. For the attention, or could be for cooperation, or could be for the breaks, or could be for other for something else. These are some of them, by the way. Okay? I think you are familiar with this. Field of trip, either real or virtual. The case studies, the guest speakers, either real or virtual. Virtual from his side, if you do have the technology in here. Okay? Remarkable individual, this is just, you know that if you ask your students, okay, about their textbook, who's the author of the book? Who's the author? I don't care about it, right? No. Okay? I don't care about it, like, but if you ask your student, do search on his life and his contribution to the subject itself. Believe me, the content, the connection between the content and the real life will be appreciated in there. Okay? Personal response system that we have in here, as I told you, some good universities used to use clickers. Okay? And this professor, really, this is one of the best books that I have read for using clickers. Using clickers, but we are not there yet. We are not there yet, so that's why I'm proposing really to use the Google Task Card instead of this one, just to collect feedback. Okay? And this professor, just to save time, he mentioned or listed so many benefits of using clickers. Or I would argue that, okay, Google Task Card also has so many benefits. Okay? But before going to the tutorial, let me ask you a question in here. But also now, if you agree, raise your hand. Please, if you agree, raise your hand, because I know that you are already exhausted, but we have to finish. Okay? So the first question is, don't you think the Google Task Cards or using clickers can promote or enhance the student participation? If yes, please raise your hand. If not, you can keep it there. Yes? The student participation. If I'm going to use the Google Task Cards or the clickers, don't you think that the student participation will be enhanced? If yes, raise your hand. All of them? All? Great. What about you? All? Alhamdulillah. So these are the benefits, by the way. I don't have time really to go through all of them, but these are some of them. Another question is, do you think that having Google Task Card or the clickers will promote the student engagement in the learning process? If yes, please raise your hand. All? That's fine. What about you? All of you? Alhamdulillah. So the third one is, do you think that the using Google Task Cards or the clickers will promote the student feedback? Student feedback? If yes, raise your hand, please. Doctor, what about you? You don't believe in this? Do you think that using clickers or Google Task Cards will promote the student feedback? If yes, raise your hand. This is the fruit of using this kind. It's how to collect the feedback of your students to save your time, right? All of you? Okay, great. خلاص. So let us go to the tutorial, because one of your questions, I guess, is how to create the Google Task Cards, isn't it? Would you like to go through that tutorial or not? Yeah, I think you are. We are there, by the way. Okay. So I'm gonna demonstrate it in here. Yeah. So let me just sign out.